Hey everyone, Ellen here. I've got a really great recipe for a smoky butternut squash sauce. It's really healthy, really easy to make. I make it at least once a week. You're going to start with a 1/4 cup of cashews and you're going to soak them. And at least 2 hours is ideal, even more if you want. What this does is it makes them really creamy in the sauce when you go to puree it. And if you don't have time or if you forget to soak them ahead of time, I just soak them in really hot water and let them sit while you're prepping everything else. And it still turns out fine. Your sauce might just not be as smooth. So once you've got that going, set your oven to 375 and you're going to cube up a butternut squash. And this one was probably about 1 pound and 13 ounces. You're going to want about 2 cups of squash for the recipe. It doesn't have to be exact though. I kind of throw things in and it still always works out. So the next thing is the shallots, and I just did a pretty big shallot here and I rough chopped it. I've got this on a piece of parchment paper so I didn't have to use any oil when I was roasting. And then garlic, and usually I use 2 cloves. Today I got a little wild and I have 4. I cut the ends of it off, but I leave the skin on and just let it roast like that, and I'll squeeze them out of the skin when I go to puree. Okay, so I'm going to start by squeezing my garlic out of the skins here. You may have to peel it off a little bit. Takes a little time. There's one more. Okay, so we've got our garlic in. I'm going to go ahead and just pick up the sides of the parchment paper, and then I can dump everything else in. So just like this, and go into the blender. You might have to scrape off a few little bits, but it comes off pretty easy. Okay, we're going to throw our cashews in, a 1/4 cup of soaked cashews. In here, I've got a teaspoon of salt, a 1/2 teaspoon of smoked paprika, that's what gives it the nice smoky flavor, a 1/4 teaspoon of chili powder, and a sprinkling of cayenne, and you can add more or less of the cayenne just depending on your taste. I'm going to dump that in. And you may end up having to add a little bit more salt once you taste the sauce. And then I've got my lemon juice here. I've got a tablespoon of lemon juice. Okay, so then the next ingredient is nutritional yeast. And if you've never used this, it adds kind of a cheesy taste. If you're not using cheese, this is what a lot of vegans use to kind of get that cheesy taste. We're going to add 2 tablespoons of this. Okay. And then I'm going to add just enough water to get it going. I like to make this sauce pretty thick. That way when I add my vegetables and stuff, which you'll see me do later, it isn't too runny of a sauce and it'll make sense in a minute. So I'm going to blend this up. Okay, so it's done blending. I did have to add a little bit more water to it. This is what it looks like. There's a lot of steam coming off. So it's pretty thick. It's delicious. It's a little bit more garlicky than normal because I added more garlic, but delicious. So at this time you could add a little bit more salt and just blend it up again. And that's it. Here's your sauce. Just put it in a container in your refrigerator. It'll keep for a while. And I just boil my pasta and glob some of this on, mix it up, and we're good to go. I'm going to go ahead and show you how I make my pasta because it's kind of, I think, a genius way to do it to add the veggies in. So we'll get started with that. I'm boiling my pasta right now, and once it gets close, I'll show you the rest. I'm using this brown rice quinoa pasta. And it says on the back to cook it for 7 to 10 minutes. So what I do is I set the timer for 7 minutes, and then once it dings at me, I go ahead and put my veggies in. Today I am using broccoli and frozen peas. So my timer's about to ding. I'm gonna go ahead and throw this stuff in. So I put it in and I mix it around. I'm gonna set my timer for 3 more minutes. Putting the vegetables in is going to bring the temperature down, so it needs to come back up to a boil, but it should be done in about 3 minutes. Okay, so the pasta's almost there, and I decided I'm gonna add in a huge old glob of spinach. So we're gonna throw this in, mix it around. Okay, adding the spinach just at the last minute will help it so it doesn't get mushy. You just want it to wilt. So I'm pulling it off now into the strainer, shaking it out. Okay, you can see that. There you go. But having the veggies in there makes it a little bit more liquidy, which is why I like to make the sauce thick, because you can always water it down, but it's hard to get the moisture out of it. I'm going to transfer that back, getting all that spinach out. Sorry for the noise. And then we're just going to pour our sauce in. Oh yeah. Okay, start with a little, mix it up, and voila. Here is the end result. Let me grab a fork. And it's hot. You can see it's all steamy. Look at it though, it almost looks like it's cheesy. Pretty good. You should try it. Thanks for watching.